We are almost live. There we go. I think we're live. We had a little delay. I'll give folks a moment to join in. We're going to be talking about how to make fundraising a piece of cake. So stick around. Say hi in the chat. Hello, those folks watching. Let me know where you are joining from. I love doing that, seeing where people are at, and we are going to get started in like 10 seconds. So I see folks joining in across the platforms. How to make fundraising a piece of cake. That's what we're talking about today. And let's get going. So I always like to think about fundraising and building an effective fundraising powerhouse in a nonprofit as building a layer cake. So the first layer of the cake, 9 times out of 10 or 9.5 times out of 10 should be major donors, is what most people call it. Call it high touch relationship giving. So this is the kind of work where you're building individual relationships with people who are giving you money. And we can include in that over time or as a sub base layer that we can have planned giving as well. Or you could think of planned giving as adding the second layer of the cake. Now, the next layer of the cake to add is what I call scaled relationship fundraising. So this is where we're doing like social media campaigns. We're working on having a large list. We might be doing large direct mailings. We're going to use technology to build one-on-one relationships. Like it feels like one-on-one, but we're going to use tools and technology to have like one-to-many, right? We're going to reach thousands of people instead of a couple of hundred people. And this is also the work of like giving days, right? And GoFundMe's and all that stuff. That's scaled relationship fundraising. And then we might have a third layer of corporate sponsorships. And finally, the icing on the cake is grants. So really quickly, why is this the order? And why are grants the icing, right? Because a lot of organizations start out with grants, but you never ice a cake until you have all the layers on. So here's why. We build this layer cake to be maximally effective. Maximally, I don't think that's a word, but it's a word today. Because the high touch relationship giving is one, the easiest to get started. It requires the least amount of tools and technology. It requires the least number of skills to learn, which does not mean it doesn't have skills that need to be learned. It certainly does. It is the simplest to execute, which doesn't make it easy, but it does make it simple. Scale and the return on investment. So the amount of money you're going to get back for the money and time you put in is going to be a lot. And it's going to get more over time because this is actually a highly scalable activity. So that's why we prioritize it first. Easiest to get started, lowest cost to get started, highly scalable, and maximum return on investment. At the other end of the spectrum, we have grants. Grants cost a lot, right? So the amount of time and energy we put into a grant is a lot to get that funding because we have to apply to a lot of grants. We're not going to get them all. So there's that whole management piece. Then when we get a grant, there's relationship sustaining to do. There's reporting to do. And most grants you're not going to get that grant like forever. You can build a good relationship and you can keep it coming, but typically foundations don't want you to be dependent on their donation. Whereas donors are often happy if you steward them well to essentially be lifelong partners. So they require a lot of kind of technical, specific know-how, how to get grants, how to write grants. So they do have a higher barrier to entry. They are not very scalable. You can streamline a bit, but each new grant is going to come with a chunk more work, whereas each new donor actually takes less and less work to acquire. And then, so that's why grants are the icing. So we don't want to be dependent on grants. We never want them to be our core driver. The other thing I want to say in that middle layer of scaled relationship funding is we tend to say like, oh, this is easy. This is no big deal, but it is highly technical. And there are a lot of high level marketing skills, copywriting skills, graphic design skills that if we want this to work well, we can't just throw together willy-nilly. And yes, we have AI tools to do the doing and make it a lot faster and easier, but we still need a really well-trained, experienced brain to decide on the strategy and to make sure that the pieces that AI is building are built properly, because it's easy to go wrong. Okay, so how do we make fundraising easy? So build layer one, build one layer at a time. So make sure your individual high touch relationship giving systems and processes are in place, in working, and funding enough to fund itself, fund your programming, and fund the growth, the development of the next layer of cake, right? So we don't want to try to make two layers at the same time. We want to build it one layer at a time. So that is my biggest tip for you today. If you are a small organization, probably this means downscaling your grants activity if you were doing any. If you were thinking of doing grants, just stop. Just don't worry about them. If you have a grant, keep it, right? If someone wants to give to you year after year already, apply again next year. But don't put a lot of your energy into growing that, or don't put any energy into growing your grants. And you can let go of the activities around your scaled fundraising, right? You can let go of Giving Tuesday. You can let go of Facebook campaigns. Those are all great. But first, I want you to dial in your layer one of high touch relationship giving, right? So that's, if you're smaller, just focus on that one thing. Once that's dialed in, and if you are larger, you probably have that dialed in. But if you don't, you need to rebuild this layer first, right? Before you start adding in the other things. So it's easier because you have less to focus on. And the work of high touch relationship fundraising is, it's kind of simple. It's relationship building. We need a way to keep track of people who we've been in contact with and to make sure we connect with them consistently, regularly, monthly, every 2 months. We need to be good listeners. We need to be good question askers. We need to actually genuinely get to know people. And we need a little bit of research skills, maybe even a tool to help you find potential people, right? We can research people who are likely candidates. We can use some tools in wealth screening to know, like, of the people who are on our list, and that might be 100 people, right? Who is likely to have the capacity to give more? And it's not just capacity to give more. I like to think about understanding everybody you know, understanding for each person what their money ecosystem is like where are they oriented, right? So for some people, they're oriented to $100 is a lot of money. And for other people, the way their wealth ecosystem is, $100 is not a lot of money. It's just a teeny bit. For some people, $1,000 is not a lot of money. And for some people, even $100,000 is not a lot of money. So we want to always, when we're talking to people, this isn't just true about their money ecosystem, we want to speak to them in their language, in the language they feel comfortable in. So whether that's like how we approach them, like are they more formal? Are they a hang out at coffee kind of person? Are they a tea house kind of person? Are they talking in the thousands of dollars type of person? Are they a talking in the tens of thousands of dollars, or hundreds of thousands of dollars type of person, right? This is all about speaking their language. It's not just about how much money do they have to give us. It's about understanding them genuinely and being able to engage with them in a meaningful way, and in a way that they enjoy and appreciate and can feel connected with. So those things, all of those activities, you're going to need an email account. You're going to need a telephone. You probably need like Zoom or Google Meet, right? Those are the tools. And then you need some sort of tracking tool to help you keep track of who you are following up with. It can absolutely be a spreadsheet. It can be a really simple CRM. Those of you who work with me know that I like to use a tool called Cloze, CLOZE, because it helps me track my relationships, and it is where I read my email. Because if you needed me to go to two different tools, I wouldn't do it. So it's all in one tool. And those are the tools you need. And then you need to just have somebody at your organization who can have a daily rhythm of reaching out to people, building those relationships. And yes, eventually you will need to learn more advanced ways of making an ask. But honestly, you will build the relationship like just a nice, caring human being, and people will just start to give, right? So you don't really need to learn, in my opinion, and to make it feel easier, I want to tell you, you don't need to learn how to ask for money until you are good at building relationships to the point that people start giving you money. Once people are just giving you money or saying, can you tell me how I can give you money, right? Or please ask me for money. Then you can worry about knowing how to ask people for money. I want to address just one more thing today, because a lot of people get hung up on how do we just keep a pulse of communication with everybody on our list. And especially if you've been doing the scaled fundraising, but maybe not so well, and you're pulling back, or you're like, it would be helpful to send everybody a weekly email or a monthly email. By the way, you should be emailing people weekly because they're not going to see most of them anyway. And here's what I want to tell you to make it a piece of cake. Once a week, and you can do this inside a staff meeting, think about what are your wins from the week and what are a couple challenges or issues you are working on to solve or that need solving. And it can be as simple as a plain Jane email from the executive director or someone else on the team out to the list. No formatting, no newsletter, anything that just says, hey, and then customize the first name. Most tools will do that. Just wanted, you're part of our community, and I wanted to keep you on the journey this week. I feel really good about X, Y, and Z. And some things that are on our minds to solve are A, B, and C, or even just A. And then that's it. And you can thank them for being part of your journey. You can always have a standing, click here to make a donation in the signature, like below your signature. And that's it. That's all you need to send out a weekly email. I hope this was helpful. I hope this makes doing the work of fundraising feel more accessible, feel like there's a path of less is more. And if you'd like to learn more about exactly how to do these things and get some help, I am have in the works, right? One thing I'm planning on here is to have a program to support people in taking these steps. Because like I said, it is simple, but that doesn't mean it's always easy to get yourself to do it. And I have seen through the years that some handholding and some, custom guidance really makes the difference for people getting started or not getting started. So I'm looking forward to putting together that program. If you're interested in learning more, I'll be opening up a wait list soon. But in the meantime, you can just email me, sarah@pivotground.com, and just say, hey, I'm interested in that fundraising thing you were talking about. And that's all I have for you right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate my time with all of you, and I will see you next time.